You have the greatest honor to hear some powerful information that's not only going to change your life, but also help you get a better understanding on how to maintain that life and build wealth and leave a legacy for your loved ones. And I am so honored to be here with my amazing friend, Miss April Blackwell of Blackwell Mortgage.
Yeah! Woo! Woo!
And I'm Dr. Rita Renee from Gifts and Gifts of Life. So we're going to get right into it because I'm super excited about this. You know, I'm a nurse by trade. I've been a nurse for over 30 years. And one of the things that I'm passionate about people. And one of the things I saw as a nurse, I saw a lot of people have health issues because of money.
Wow.
When you don't have money, you don't have options. You have to settle, right? And so not only now do I help people with their health, I help them with their wealth. So it's a no-brainer for me to help people in the financial industry. So I've been part of the financial industry since 2015. Came here to North Carolina in 2019, 2020. We opened up our office here, and it's been amazing. We have amazing partnerships that we have built through just getting to know people, what they want, how to get to their goals. And so I'm happy to say that I have some of the solutions that can actually help you. So let's talk about how you can build wealth with life insurance. Life insurance? I didn't say death insurance. So there are some things that you can actually use and benefit while you're still alive. And just raise a hand. Who still has some goals they want to achieve in their life, right? There's some places that you want to go. Angela and I just came back from Paris. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Build that new home, that dream home, travel around the world, maybe have some assets for your grandchildren. So many things. I look at the mall all the time because my office window was there. And I say, you know what? A lot of people are keeping this mall open. How many people own anything? Right? We're purchasing, but you have buying power when you have money options. So I'll share one of the options through life insurance, how you can build wealth. And then April's going to come and share some other information through real estate. So first, life insurance is important, especially a lot of you. How many people own businesses? Okay. How many people own a home? Okay. So guess what? That home is something that you want to make sure that you protect. That's something that you want to hand down. And I'm not sure if you guys have experienced this, but April, I remember when my great-grandmother passed away, she had this piece of land. She had this small house. And guess what? Nobody could benefit from it. You know why? They didn't plan. They didn't think about the taxes. So they couldn't leave a legacy for us. We think about everything that we have to have insurance on. Why isn't it mandatory that you don't have life insurance? When you leave T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, the first thing they tell you got to have is insurance on your phone. When you leave the car lot, the first thing they're going to do, call up the people. I need proof that you have insurance. But nobody makes it mandatory for you to have life insurance. You know why? Because they know that's a way that you can build generational wealth for your families. So guess what? No longer is the secret hidden. You guys are going to know more about it. But especially if you have a business, you want to make sure that you leave protect the vision of your business, longevity. I know let's say, I'm going to use Angela a lot because she's right here. Angela has a business, right? King House of Ladies, Men of Valor. I'm sure Angela, when she thought about this vision of this business, she didn't think about it just for a short period of time. She wants that business to carry on. Same thing with your families. You also want your family to benefit. They want to remember you, right? Think about my uncle. Let me give you this example. New York, no life insurance. Passes away. Guess what happens? The family has to pay for it. Guess what? We're coming out of everybody's grabbing. So if I was saving for something, it wasn't going to happen then. I had to give up my dreams to help somebody else. Now, you hear the passion in my voice? How fair is that? It's not fair at all. So when you're thinking about life insurance, don't think of it as a bill. Think of it as a legacy that you're leaving for your families. So these are some of the books that are out there. They've been out there for a while. Guess what? A lot of people are using it, but we have to get out of our heads. We can't be superstitious. Nobody's trying to, well, there might be some people trying to take your money. I'm not trying to take your money. I'm trying to help you, right? So these are some resources that talk about how life insurance is used to build generational wealth. So let me share some statistics with you. Jamaica, does everybody remember about 1987? A lot of things happened in 1987, right? Black Monday. I mean, a lot of people lost money, homes, possessions. The Great Recession in 2007. And they said that we're not in a recession now. But guess what? We are. I'm in the financial industry. We are in a recession. But guess what? We have some resources to help you. Just because they're in a recession doesn't mean you have to be in a recession. Yes.
How would you define, like, recession now? Like, I guess, how would you say, like,
things cost more than they used to cost. And you can't afford it anymore. When you have to sit there and you looking at eggs.
Yeah.
Gas? Oh my goodness. Oh, we can't even talk about the gas, right? Just when you think it's going to go down, it goes right back up. There's an excuse for everything. But guess what? The wealthy are not caring about when it goes up or not. So for us, we have to do what we have to do to protect our family. We have to prioritize things. We have to make the main thing, which is our families. So what are you willing to give up, or what are you willing to sacrifice for a short period of time so that your family can have a legacy? I want you to think about those things. Then, in general, most experts agree that even with the 401k, they don't even last as long as they used to. The average 401k, it can be between 17, 25, 26, depending on what state you are in. But you think about it, if you had $26,000 in your 401k, how long do you think that's going to last?
Like 3 months.
3 months.
Exactly.
Or less.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how it is.
Especially if you got kids and a dog, and it goes on and on and on.
Extra bills that you're paying,
And what if you already behind?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
What if you already behind? It's like me and my husband. We went to a fast food restaurant. We were in Virginia, and it was late. And guess what? I'm thinking at midnight it was the club crowd, right? I said no. They're on their way to the club. They're not in the line eating. So you have baby boomers. One taking the orders, one taking the sandwiches. But you know what's scary to me, guys, is that even when you go to Walmart, Sam's Club, BJ's, it used to be older people. Do you not know they're getting younger? They're booting them out. By 2032, 34, 33, they're thinking there's not going to be any more Social Security. You think about it. My mom complains all the time. They gave me a little bit more of my Social Security, but they taxed it. I didn't get nothing. What are we going to do? What are our kids going to do? Because the debt is not going to go away. And it's still going to be here. And guess who's going to take care of the middle class? So we got to figure out a way. What do the wealthy do? I'm going to share that soon. So I want you guys to take this exercise. Do you know your independence number? Because your independence number is what's going to keep you independent, financially free, and secure. You think about all the money that you made last year. Do you have 10% of that in a savings account? 10% of that saved? 10% of that invested? If you don't, then that means we need to do some work. Because everybody has an independent. You want to be free financially, you better know your independence number, and you need to be making plans to work towards your independence number. That's important. Are you willing to sacrifice now so that you can be financially sure later? And sometimes you look, I can't go to all them places. I can't buy all those things. Even when we went to Paris, I already knew this is what I was going to purchase, and I saved up for it, and that's it. Right? And so you can have those periods. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy life. But I'm just saying, if you really want to be financially free, what are you willing to do to get there? So if money is not an option, what would your top 5 goals be? Anybody? If money was not an option.
Travel. I like to explore with food.
So my travel will be to have fun, but it's also to learn the different cultures and how their food and taste.
Yes.
That would be me.
Yes. We can do a road trip on that. I love that. Anybody else? You said travel. Where you want to travel, Angela?
I would do the Mediterranean, I would do Egypt,
Ooh.
and even some exotic places I haven't been.
I
I've
love
done a
it.
lot in Europe, but I want to explore others.
Yeah, I can see you doing those trips.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody? Let's hear from the young people. What are your top goals?
My top goal is to A, travel,
Mm-hmm.
B, I have a few, not have to worry about money when I grow up. So like if I want to do something, I want to just be able to do it, and I want to take care of my family. So I have a sister in Canada with 6 kids, and I have a mom, and I want to make sure that like I can always be able to help them whenever they need.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Married couple. Married couple. You coupled. You kind of put yourself on the back burner. But you know what? Money wasn't an option. What would you want to do? It's a great question.
How many more animals can we get in the house?
So you want to open up a farm? I love it.
A little petting zoo.
Maybe not in the house, but maybe outside the house.
Whatever it is, right? You have money, you have options. You don't have money, you don't have options. You have to settle. So me, as a financial professional, how do I help people figure out, do they have enough? How do I work toward my goals? How do I see my dreams come to fruition? So I use a method called the DIME method, okay? D-I-M-E. D is for debt. The average family has $50,000 worth of debt. That can be credit cards, anything that you haven't paid off.
Does that include
debt.
mortgage?
No, we won't get the mortgage though. Mortgage has its own category. Great question. Then we have I is for income. The average income is $50,000, but guess what? You need to multiply that by 10. Because think about this. If you work for a job, how many days do they usually give you off of bereavement? About 3 to 5 days, right?
Maybe 5.
Right? Some of the places cut it down to 3.
Right.
Wow.
Right? And now they don't even want to include your aunts and uncles.
Right.
Wow.
Right? One, right?
Immediate
One day.
family.
So think about it. How many people you know over the years have gone back to work and they really weren't mentally able? They haven't finished grieving. Now that's just the adults. Think about the children.
Yeah.
If you have money, you have options. That mother or that father, whoever is left, doesn't have to go right back to work until they're ready. School, they can be homeschooled. They can have the best tutors, whatever, until they're ready, right? Okay, then you think about mortgage. The average mortgage, we say $250,000, but it's gone up now. It's way higher than that, like $300, $400, right?
Right.
But a lot of people don't protect their mortgage. And so now, if something happens to the breadwinner, guess what? They have to downsize. Or sometimes they're homeless. And then E is for income. The average tuition has gone up too. This says $25,000. Most families have 2 children. So now you're looking at $200,000. You have $1 million. You need at least $1 million worth of coverage. And a lot of people have way less than that. I had a conversation with a person. They said, all I need is just enough money for them to bury me. I said, well, what about your children? They still want to go to college. So that means the child has to not think about college. Now they have to go to work, pay for college. I mean, I did it. But however, if there's a way that they can have it a little bit easier, and it's okay. I shouldn't hear conversations like I've heard before. I had to go through hard knocks. They're going to have to go through hard knocks too. You can still teach children responsibility and still make it, a little bit easier for them, right? So that's what we do, help educate, because we teach you the money formula, the wealth formula. You need to know this: money plus time plus plus or minus the rate of return minus inflation minus taxes. That's your wealth formula. That's how you can see whether or not you're on track. So I told you, and I was explaining to you that you're actually able to build wealth in life insurance. So now we're going to get to that. Let's talk with the basics though. There's 2 types of life insurance. There's term and there's permanent, right? Term is just like you're renting, like an apartment, right? You're renting or leasing, whatever. It only covers you for that certain period of time, and then there's no more. There's less than 3-4% of term policies actually paid out. But it's a good plan to
Wow.
have for your mortgages, right? You have a 30-year mortgage, you have a 30-year term. You don't have to worry about something happening to you. You know the mortgage is going to be taken care of, right? So it's a good policy to have. You should diversify your portfolio. I never say get rid of stuff. I always try to sit down and see what you have first, and then we make the decision based on, I always want to make the decision. I want to make the decision that best suits you and your family and your goals, okay? Then permanent. Permanent is what it is. It carries you out through your lifetime. But what's great about permanent is only whole life on steroids. You can build cash in it. And a lot of people are not aware of that. But also, you can have living benefits. God forbid if something happens to you, you're able to continue your business. You can still get the funding that you need, make sure your employees pay for all this stuff. You can get this done through the permanent life insurance, through trust, a lot of other different avenues that we can do to make sure that you are protected, your family, your business, your employees. So, can your business survive after you're gone? Whatever it is.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, we're going to make sure it survives. Longevity. So, what will happen to your business if you get too sick? Or even if you get too sick at home and you don't own a business? You have to think about these things. Who's going to make sure that your employees get paid, that your family bills get paid? You have to make sure that's being done. But you can do that with an Index Universal Life Insurance policy. It's called an IUL 7702. It's been around for the last 30 years. The wealthy have been using these policies. Guess what? The real estate companies, they're starting to get more wind of it to help their clients. It is a game changer. So what's so powerful about it? You have tax deferred earnings. What does that mean? As the money is growing and accumulating in the policies, guess what? Any growth accumulate is untaxed. We're trying to save on taxes, right? You want to save all your money. Your money, you work hard for it. I'm trying to keep as much as I can to myself. You have tax advantage loans. The loans are not non-taxable. Right now, the bank's rate of return in a savings account is less than 1%. So basically, we put our money in the bank and giving them a tax-free loan because they're using our money to make money. You realize that, right?
Then lending it back out at double digits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're giving them a tax-free loan,
Exactly.
and they're not giving us anything.
Exactly.
Okay? So we got to figure out a way to do, savings accounts are great, maybe up to 6 months of, emergency funds in case something happens, but we need to put our money somewhere else where we continue to make money. But what the great thing about the IUL is you can even take the money out and use it for whatever you
I was
want.
going to ask that question.
You ain't got to pay it back if you don't want to. It's your money.
Mhm.
Being your own
Excuse me.
bank.
So when you take that money out,
Mhm.
is it taxed?
No, tax-free.
Okay.
See?
So they
Loans
will
are not
tax it with
taxable.
bonds. Okay. All right, just wanna make sure.
Yep. Tax advantage withdrawals, tax-free transfers, but the greatest thing about this, even when the death benefit is paid out, is tax-free to your families.
Right.
Wow.
They get every single dime.
Wow.
This is a game changer.
So why even put money in your 401k?
Well, a lot of people like 401k. Remember, it's tied to the stock market. So if you like to take risks, I have a 401k. I have an IRA. I believe in diversifying. You just don't put all your eggs in one basket. But if I have a basket that's going to save me more money, I'm going to put more towards that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So this is how it works. Compound interest, right? Everybody knows Albert Einstein, right? Woolly hair guy, right? He said this is the 8th wonder of the world. If you master this, you can master the abundance of wealth. So I'm going to share this example and I'm going to test you guys. So if I give you all $100, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said that the banks have less than 1% rate of return, right? So we're going to use one for math purposes because I don't do fractions and all that stuff, right? So everybody gets $100. You take the number 72, you divide it by the rate of return, which is going to be 1. And that equal and tells you how fast your money is going to double. Because our goal is to have our money double faster so we can get to our goal, so we can be financially free. So 72 divided by 1 equals 72. So it's going to take you how many years for your $100 to double?
72 years.
Do you got 72 years?
No.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore. That's right, April. April got her IUL.
Me either, April.
Nobody in here.
She got her IUL set up, so she's good to go. But not only can we find you rates of return from 12 up to 13% right now. So now let's look at the 12% rate of return. So you see the one with the 4%? That's like mutual funds, CDs. They'll give you a 4% rate of return. And you can use any number. You can use $100, $500, 10, whatever. I'm just using 10,000 because the numbers look good like that, right? 29 years old, 4% rate of return. By the time they're 65, they're at $40,000. But what are most people trying to do at 65?
Retire.
Okay.
Get Social Security. Because it's not getting.
Right. And we're hoping that we still have it.
Right.
So $40,000 not going to last long. So we all know that, right? But rate of return of 12%. That means every 6 years your money's going to double. Every 6 years. At 65, you at $640,000. Which one you want?
640.
Okay. So we can make it happen, right? Because right now, as I close, this is how your money is being taxed. You're being taxed now. You know why? Because they don't trust you. They don't trust me. They want their money off the top. Mutual funds, stocks, CDs, savings accounts. They tax the money right then and there. Then you have tax deferred. That's your 401ks, your 403bs, your TSPs. Those things, annuities, they're tax deferred. They don't want the seed, they want the forest. So they want you to dump. And one of the things I always tell people with their 401ks, yeah, if you're still working at that job, keep your 401k. Match what they're matching. Don't overmatch.
That's exactly right.
Because I tell people, I had a person, April, they were matching 8%, the company was 3%. I said, hold up.
Really? Why shouldn't you?
That's right.
I said, who's losing more money, you or them? Let's take the 5%, put it somewhere else, okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
How come you don't want to overmatch?
Because you're putting more money in than what the company is putting in. So when the stock market drops, who's going to lose more money?
Oh.
And then when you get ready to withdraw it, they're going to tax you.
Well, not only that, the company's using your money.
Exactly. They're using your money.
So
to
if
make
you
money.
giving them 8%, they only put in how much you say?
Right, 3.
But it's your own money though.
They're
For when
using it to
They
make
don't
money
care.
off
They're
of it.
using it.
Yep.
You could use it for other things.
Yeah,
Right.
so you can make the money, not them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
so, sort of the rule of thumb is like, I mean, if it's a 1-to-1 match, like go up to the.
Go for whatever they're matching you to.
Yeah.
See, this is amazing information because no one teaches you any of this. So I thought I was being a good girl by putting more money than the company match because I'm like, well, maybe my employer only wants to invest, let's say 3%, but I want to invest at least 8% of my money into my future. So I was always overmatching.
It's okay.
Right.
We're pressing the reset button. You're learning
It's
now.
really easy to go in and
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
and
adjust it.
take that.
It's
extra
more the
5%.
knowledge that's blowing me away. That I'm like, wow, people tell you not to do that?
It's okay though. You know, just telling you to use that other money. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Put it in a place because we have to put it in a place that's aggressive, that's going to grow faster. Because you have goals and dreams. You're not going to be working forever,
Right.
right?
Amen.
And then tax free. Who wants tax free?
Always.
Everybody wants tax free.
Everybody.
Always.
Roth IRAs, they're great, right? You know, you only can make a certain amount of money a year, $150,000 and $6,000, you know, a year. However, it's a good place, right? Because anywhere it's tax free, that's where we want to put our money. And then life insurance, the IUL, tax free, tax free, tax free.
Yeah.
That's what I like. Free.
Free. So right now, these are the options for your money. Fixed. To me, I'm a nurse, right? So that looks like a flat line. You got enough money in it, if you broke, you just not going nowhere, right? Variable, that's the tachycardia, right? Heart rate going up and down, it's not stable. That's the stock market, right? You get the highs of the highs, but you get the lows of the lows. But with the index strategy was so amazing, it mimics the stock market. It's not tied to the stock market. You get the highs of the highs, but you never get the lows of the lows. With the stock market dropping, you're locked in wherever you are. And you just keep building. And you just keep building.
Now, isn't that the one when they, whatever principle they're using, they don't lose it?
Right.
That's what people don't realize.
You
don't
keep
lose
it.
your principal.
Whatever you're building in it, you're not gonna lose it. It's not.
Oh,
Yeah, the
wait,
interest
are you
rates go up and
saying?
down, but not your money don't go where they take some and then you're no losing.
It's
your
all
principal.
yours.
Yeah.
So if you put
Minus the
20,000,
fees, you know, they have fees and stuff like that.
Jesus.
They have fees. But whatever your growth is yours.
And let them tell
So if you
you
put-
won't lose your 20. Not
Right.
one
That's a
grand.
Really?
Yes.
So Kim, let's say that I put 10, or Dr. Rita, let's say I put $10,000 in there, right? And then it turns to $20,000. But then the market goes down. My 10,000 is still there.
It's still there.
It's safe. And that's what
What about the
tell
$20,000,
you.
the $10,000
They
gain?
don't tell
Is
you that.
something
Financial
you need
advisors
to
will
really
not
growth
tell you that.
part of it?
What do you mean?
So she just said like she invested
That's
10, but it grows to 20.
And they gonna
Will she lose any of the
You not
growth?
lose none.
Your that's why I call
None.
it principal. What you put in is yours.
Is
You
yours.
do not lose it.
But the growth part.
So what about the growth?
Yes.
I'm
everything-
so
whatever
mad. Why
growth-
didn't they
remember
tell
I
me
said
this
the growth?
earlier?
Yeah.
Let me go back. Let's go back here. Let me go back here. What does it say? Hold on. Any growth accumulation is what?
Untaxed. Taxed. But if the market goes down, if it's indexed, will you lose the value of the growth? Like it grows to $20,000 in that example.
You're locked in wherever you are.
Really?
If the stock market drops, the stock market drops. Has nothing to do with you.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's
The game
I am
changer.
so upset. Why does nobody?
No
This
way.
is how the wealthy continue to be wealthy. They're able to pass these on and on. You can start this as young as 15 days old.
Stop.
So you know children. Can you imagine? And listen, this is a game changer. You open up an IUL. You're the parent. You're paying into it. That's a bank. How many kids you got? I have a client has 4 kids. They have IULs. She has 4 accesses to banks. So she has 4 IULs. When you get older, you can say, you can continue to pay on the IUL. I'm going to take all this cash out that I put in here, though. You can do that if you want to. Or you can just pass it on. Or just pass it on.
So you're
Okay, so,
Seems
well, we have a trust for my son.
And you can do it as a trust, too.
Okay, but it's with an attorney because
Okay.
his dad and I divorced.
Okay.
So, when he turns 18, he gets a certain portion.
Mm-hmm.
So we can switch that over to the IUL.
Yeah.
Then when he turns 22, he'll get another portion, and then 25.
Right, because right now the trust is just holding the money.
Yes.
It's not growing, it's not growing,
Right.
it's just holding it. You gotta have a place where the money is growing.
Okay.
It can still be growing in under a trust, right?
Yeah, but I would put it in an IUL too. You want it, like I said, you don't want to put everything in one basket.
Yeah.
Good job.
right.
If they're able to take some of it out,
Yeah, and it can still grow and then to not have access to it.
yeah,
though.
but not as fast.
Yeah.
Would hope.
Depends on the rate of return.
Yeah.
regular.
Everything depends on the rate of return.
Go back. So what is it that they at 15 days old a person can do what?
They can open up an IUL
For that.
for that child.
But does that have to be in a trust?
It does not have to be in a trust.
You stay working in the background, Kim. You don't see it.
And then the
Kim,
child is the beneficiary.
No,
Would you
No, they're
mind?
not
the child will not be the beneficiary until they're older.
Okay, so it's
18.
just
Because I need
The
to-
parents.
But so how do they identify that for the child then? How would that kind of be structured?
So what I usually do is the parent is like the payer, and the owner, and then the parents can be like you can have one parent, the beneficiary, or you can do both of them,
I got you.
50-50, or you can have another adult to be a contingent in case something happens
Happens to
to
them.
the parents.
But it's automatically set up that, like she was saying, at certain ages,
Right.
they would, they have access.
Right. So at age 18, you can have them added on as they can be the payer or the owner,
Got it.
but
I
it
had-
can't be it when they're under 18.
Putting money into your IUL, I have a question about that. Is it possible to put in a large sum, or is it deducted every month from your bank
You
account?
can do it annually, you can do it semi-annually, you can do it quarterly, you can do it monthly.
Is there a limit?
It can be, because what you don't want to do is put too much in there and then it'll flag. So what I do is I have a counseling session we'll look at whether or not what's the highest that you can actually put it in there without being flagged. Because you start putting too much in there, they'll say, you know what, we're gonna tax you on this. You put too much money, or it's a red flag like,
What are you?
were you money laundering?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, where are you getting this money from? So yeah. So it's, everybody's individualized.
So what is the minimum, or is it based on your age?
It's age has a lot to do with it. It's an insurance policy, so you have to qualify for it, right? So there's some conditions, right, that you may or may not be able to get approved, even with children too. My son, he got approved, and I'm just praising God. But some children don't get approved with certain conditions.
Right, that's exactly right.
So you have to apply for IUL?
Life
so it's
insurance,
a life
they-
insurance policy.
And they do a thing on you, a physical.
Yeah, life
But you know, some of these don't have physicals.
Oh.
No physicals. Everything is electronic. So you have the MIB, the medical database, where it can contact different codes, like your ICD-9 codes, based on your doctor visits and medication. They can tell if
They
you're.
drew my blood.
Oh, wow.
They took
So
me,
they don't get
when I
actual
applied, they
physical
came to my
record.
house and they drew my blood. They said I was preferred.
They
came to your house?
Yeah.
To get your
They
blood?
come to you.
Yeah. They said, you want our
Hold on one
insurance, you
second.
give us
We
that
have a
blood.
question right here.
Yeah, I wonder, is there for most companies,
Low.
is there a number that triggers those exams?
That's a good point, I should have said that.
No. Usually it's what comes up in their medical record.
Okay, so it don't really matter if they did like 75 or 100 or 50, it's just if something flags, even at 50, they may still request it. Okay.
But I think I've had one
Okay.
out of since 2015
Yeah. That's not a problem.
that came up.
Okay, you may get to this, but I just have a question. Okay, when you do your tax returns, do you have to file this?
Oh, great question.
That is a great question. No.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I got a lot of stuff out there.
You do got a lot of
So,
stuff going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
I've
ma'am.
been working time since. No?
You're so cute.
And then again, it depends, and that's individualized. I actually show a graph on if you put this amount in here based on your age, how fast will your money grow? And I always look at it a point that I want your money to grow as fast as possible. If a person who is not caring about their client, they would let them have all zeros for a couple of years. It'll be more commission for them. I'm not like that. I pull it up. I say, look, this is how it looks. If you put a minimum amount, you got all these years that you have zero. You're not building money. That's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I said, no, let's overfund it, and let's get you closer to your golden range. Okay. So it's individualized. So I want to share. This is the last part of it. Some famous people who actually use life insurance to build wealth, to build a legacy for their families. And you guys can do the same thing.
Oh my.
Oh, wow.
Disney.
He had this vision, right? And nobody wanted to invest in him. So you know what? Hey, gonna take some money out my life. 70 billion annually revenue and more. This is over.
He used it to fund this.
He used it to fund his dreams.
That is awesome.
To fund his dreams. So think about the things that you want to do.
That is awesome.
A lot of times we become dream dead because we don't see a way out, and sometimes the way out is just right there in front of us, right? Yep, saw that on History Channel, right? Yep, he bought his partners out. Life insurance.
Y'all need to see that movie too.
That's a good movie. Yep.
Oh yeah, it's a very good movie.
Raymond Howard.
Yeah.
J.C. Penney, yeah. You know, J.C. Penney was about to go bankrupt. He went into his life insurance and he got the money out and kept it from getting bankrupt.
Oh my.
And you still see
Yeah, I heard
and
that
hear
story.
J.C. Penney's, right?
Oh wow, that is cool.
Anybody know Master P?
Oh, wow.
Actually, you know what's funny about that? He went to Invest Fest. He wasn't there this year.
Oh man.
But he's somebody that they talked about because he was at one I think before, and
Did you
that's
just say
exactly what
Invest
they.
Fest?
Well, you're talking about
Yep.
at Invest Fest, they.
That's what he did.
And
His grandfather left him some money in insurance policy and he opened up his record label and boom.
Stop.
Successful. That's why he really. That's why he haven't depended. He's not even caught up with all these other people and all the stuff they did.
I'm just mad that that we don't talk about this more. Like, why are we just hearing about?
I don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Rita. Thank you.
Well, the way I can see it, I've been thinking about, I wanna buy them all, because I heard that somewhere. And I was like,
Yeah, a strip
yeah,
club.
seriously,
I
I've been
actually
thinking
have a
about
real
that.
estate.
And there's so many that's vacant right
I don't
now.
know how
And
it's
if y'all
gonna
want
work,
to buy
but
things,
I can't. Let me help you. I will help you buy. I'll help you run it.
And I'm
I'm
closing,
that girl.
and I'll share my card and information. I want to get to Miss April because she has some great things that she wants to share too with real estate.
Yeah.
But one of the saddest things during COVID and just before COVID is when I drive and I see all these empty spaces. I don't know if that moves y'all or not.
Yeah.
But it moves me because I think about somebody worked hard and they really wanted to do this for their family. They really wanted to do this, and it's empty.
Yes, yes.
But
that is, you said that exactly right. It is people don't realize, but the commercial, all this booming on the residential side, the commercial market has been suffering since
Yes.
COVID.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't change.
Oh,
It
yeah.
didn't do the turnovers like the residential. And people don't know that, but that's a good time though.
yes,
to
let's buy.
Exactly.
This is the time to invest. So don't be afraid of what you see in the market.
Exactly.
This is a good time to start, and don't beat yourself up. Guess what? I had to start too at some point. I was in my 40s. My daughter in this in 2015. She's 33. My youngest daughter. And I mean, she has an 800 credit score. She has almost $250,000 in her IUL. I mean, because I didn't learn it, but I wanted her to learn it. If that makes sense.
That's amazing.
So thank you so much. And I'm going to bring up, you're welcome. I want to bring up this amazing woman. Her name is April Blackwell.
Does anybody need like a 2-minute break or anything like that?
I just want to write to the school boards and ask them why they don't teach students about life insurance.
Yes. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, we are going to get started here and show you how the clicker works. Just arrow the page to the right. Awesome. All right. So before I get started, I do just want to give a little plug for Dr. Rita. I had life insurance with another agent for a long time. Never heard from them, but they got the checks all the time, and I just always just was wondering, like, this is like I feel like it's a lot of money, like. And so I asked Dr. Rita one day, can you just take a look at this for me? And she's like, gosh, this really does seem like, why are you spending this much for this? And anyway, here's what you need to do. So we had a virtual call. She did a share screen, and she showed me this was an amazing presentation, but until you see what the numbers look like on the screen, like if I invest this much versus if I do this much on this kind of term versus this kind of term, that is the real mind-blowing part of it. And so I highly encourage you to please squash your curiosity, make an appointment with her, and learn how can you double that money. I mean, because you saw like you could double your money in 6 years at the right rate of return, right? And so some of us are young enough in this room that if you can double it every 6 years, you will be really good on it.
Rita and me are hanging out on Monday.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm April Blackwell with Blackwell Mortgage and Commercial Loans, and I'm excited to share with you some information about real estate financing. And we are going to tie this in to what Rita talked about at the end. So there is going to be a lot of information and a lot of numbers. So actually, Pishoy, can you pass out our folders? I don't expect that.
You good?
I don't expect you're going to be able to see the numbers on the screen, so I printed them out in this handout here, so follow along with them. You have my permission. It's okay for you to look at it so that you can see better. And that way you can kind of grasp a little bit. And also we're recording this if you want to watch it again later and then or absorb the information. You have the handout to take with you as well. So we're going to talk about the types of investment, housing hacks, how can you make housing more affordable, challenges with investment, and also recommendations around those challenges. types of investments that I can think about. Just to keep it really simple and basic. We could probably add to that commercial, right? There's other types as well, but for the most part, for your novice investor, for your average person, they're going to come across these categories. Owning your own home. If you do nothing, at the very least, own your own home, because people who own their own home will have a 40 times net worth than somebody who does not own their own home. Owning your own home is the single most way for most people to generate wealth, especially if they don't get to know you, Rita. Like if they don't know you, they don't ever hear about life insurance. But owning a home today, that's where the majority of people's equity and net worth is tied up in their home. Then you can own long-term rentals. There's short-term rentals, and I didn't go into mid-term rentals, but there's also mid-term rentals, and I'll try to remember to talk about that as I'm navigating long and short-term, but that's also a thing that you don't really hear too much of, but I'll try to touch on that. If I don't mean you're interested, just ask me a question later on when we get to that. And then there's this BRRR, it's missing an R, and we're not because we're in the Arctic and it's cold, but BRRR stands for buy, rehab, refinance, rent, and repeat. It's an investment strategy where you buy a property, renovate it, take cash out of it, rent it out, have somebody pay the mortgage on it, use the cash that you took out when you refinanced it to invest in another project and do the whole thing all over again.
Because I always forget this. I know this, but I always forget the R.
I'm going to go over it in another slide. Yeah, but it is buy, rehab, or renovate, or repair, whatever your choice of R there. Buy, renovate, refinance, rent, repeat, or rent and refinance. It doesn't really too much matter. Then there's fix and flip. When we hear about fix and flip, it's on HGTV. There's TV shows about fixes and flipping and love all those types of things. So we'll also talk about that. My particular interest, however, in this topic is not the how-to, is not the details. It is about the return on the investment. Because why? We just talked about how quickly you can return, double your money. If you know the return on your investment, then you can know how quickly you can return your money. So when you're analyzing, you're doing the numbers on the projects, should I do a long-term rent versus a short-term rent, a BRRR or a fix and flip, or how do I allocate my money to those projects? You can look at the rate of return for each one of those and make a choice compared to the risk you're willing to take, right? Because you can get a great rate of return, but you can also take a great risk as well. And risk is very personal, and not everybody can handle the same level of risk. And why? Because they may not have the same level of resources. So those that have a greater abundance of resources to start with can take greater risk. And when you take greater risk, you can go for those greater returns. But if you're not starting out with an abundance of resources to start with, and everybody has to start somewhere, right? This is not like a judgment, it's not a condemnation or anything to anyone. We are all on our own journey, and some have little, some have middle, and some have much, but not all people can take the same types of risk. All right? So owning your own home, this is just very basic. If we can just own our own property, currently, and I know this is going to break some people's hearts who are watching this and who are in this room, but the median sales price in Wake County is $462,000. Okay? I can't do nothing about that. Okay? So I'm only going to speak with what is the median price of housing in our market where we sit right now. And then this graph right here shows historical and forecasted rates of growth, and it's super conservative. Like the historical is like 3.4, and the forecast is like 3.5, or where do they verse? Both of these rates of projection are less than 4%. And if you're in the real estate market, you know, like in the last 3 years, it's been double-digit growth. So when you take a look at this, it is ultra conservative. It is just super conservative. So using the most conservative possible rates of growth. If you buy a home today, median price in Wake County of $462,390, it'll be worth, depending on your historical or forecasted measure, of about $650,000 10 years from now. So that is nearly a $200,000 gain, right? Not the biggest gain on your money over a 10-year period of time, but it's solid because what's happening to your mortgage during these 10 years?
It's going down.
It's going down, right? So the equity position here in 10 years is greater than that $200,000 because you're not borrowing $462, you're putting a down payment on that property. So, but let's just talk about the reality of renting versus owning, because the mortgage payment on $462,000 with say 10% down is going to be $2,697 plus taxes and insurance of $633, and there's a maintenance and repair situation here for like just monthly maintenance. So your housing expense is gonna be about $3,500 a month, okay? That's a lot of money. I don't know about you, but when I bought my first home, when the payment was $700 per month, I almost choked. I didn't know how I was gonna make a $700 monthly mortgage payment.
Wow.
And now we are expecting first-time home buyers to gag that down.
I've lost clients behind them seeing that number.
Yes, of course.
They're like, oh,
Well,
I'll just keep waiting.
they're not really a client because they can't
Right, well,
buy prospects, right?
Yeah,
So,
prospects, right.
so this is eliminating a big pool and it makes renting very, very attractive because the average rent on a home that would be worth about $462 is going to be $2,859. So that's a savings of about almost $700 per month. And $700 per month savings, that's what my whole mortgage was when I first bought my home. So why would you want to buy if you could rent? So let's just take a look at that. So first of all, current annual rent is increasing about 8% annually. So this is a bar graph using 3%, again, using a very, very conservative estimate. As we can see over the next, it'll take about 9 years before the rent payment with projected increases passes the mortgage payment. But that's if this person never refinances, right? There is definitely a time coming within the next 2 years, possibly within as early as the next 6 to 8 months, somebody could refinance a home today and shave $400 off that payment, really narrowing that gap between the rent and the buy.
April, do you think we'll ever see interest rates of 2%? Because that's what
I know. So the question is, will we ever see 2% rates again? So we saw 2% rates as a reaction to a global pandemic that we all want to forget. So lest we have something extraordinary happen, I don't want 2% rates to come back. Okay? Because I don't want any extraordinary historical event to disrupt my life again. So before we had 2% rates, average rate was about 4.5%. Okay? You know, we'll get there. So the MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, projects mortgage rates will be at 4.6 in 2025. Okay? So we're heading there. There's a saying in the industry that rates go up like a rocket and they go down like a feather. Okay? So there is expected improvement that our industry expects will happen in the middle of May as inflation reports catch up and paint an improved picture going forward. But we'll see, because rents have been going up so high, because housing still is increasing, just because rates are high, there are still plenty of people. We live in a very wealthy area. We live in a high income area, a high net worth area. We live in an area that there are people with plenty and who are able to do this. And what I'm seeing in the market is that consumers are figuring it out. They're figuring out what they need to do, and I'll show you a popular house hacking strategy coming up soon. But what we see here is a cash flow difference, that all things being equal, they never refinance. Rent goes up over the next 9 years until rents surpass the mortgage payment. It would cost somebody that owned a home, cash flow only wise, an additional $35,458 over that 9-year period of time. So it's not like really painting a picture like, well, let's go rush out and buy a house, but let's just hang with me, okay? Okay. So let's take a look at the net gain by owning a home. So we have our initial cost, the cash flow difference, right, of owning a home over those 9 years, and the cost of selling it in 10 years. Those are all of sort of the negatives over here in red. But in the positive in green, we've got appreciation gain, the amortization gain, that's the reduction in your mortgage payment, your mortgage balance going down, and the tax benefit of owning a home, all in the green here. So what we see is that by year 9, that same year where rents surpass the mortgage payment, is that there's a net gain in year 9 of $136,974. So while cash flow wise they may be negative $35,000, by year 9 they are a positive $136,000. If they were to sell in year 10, they would have a net gain of $168,000 plus, and so on and so forth, right? For the purpose of this presentation, I just stuck to 10 years. Because for the longest time, 10 years has been the average amount of time the American consumer has held on to their home or their mortgage. Now, there's a lot of disruption to that number over the last few years because of buyer's remorse. Many consumers went out there, bought homes in the frenzy, overpaid for the property, didn't do inspections on it, waived appraisal contingencies. Now they're living in a home that was sight unseen. Now they're living in it like, I don't like this place. I don't like the neighbors. I don't like the neighborhood. I don't like nothing about it. Toilet runs all night. And it's just all the things. And so what we see is a surge of properties coming back on the market that people have owned for less than 3 years because they're, maybe even less than a year because they're just really regretting the choice.
They don't see the appreciation in the mortgage though?
So
I've seen it. Like I bought during that time.
Yeah.
And
So it just depends. If you don't like your house, it doesn't matter to some people like how much they like if it's like a money pit, like if they're like replacing the roof this week, and it's the hot water
throwing
here
money
next
at it.
week, and then it's the foundation next week, and it's humidity next week.
Well, that's the problem. Two things happened. They got tired of getting their offers rejected and constantly looking at houses, so they settled. So that's where you get what Ava was talking about. Or they just had the kind of money because they're coming from bigger states where they make more money and they paid over. They didn't care.
Yeah.
That's causing the issue. So the in between is probably where you were.
That's
then
what
you got the two extremes on the other end.
That's what happens when you get married and don't see your spouse first.
That's another story. That's another TV show. Oh my God. That's another TV show.
And then you get a house and you're like, what? The roof is broken?
Yeah. What were you talking about earlier about like people regretting their decisions because the makeup didn't have makeup on?
Please encourage all your friends, colleagues, and families. Please, if they got a good real estate agent, please listen. Because I tell people, if you listen to me, you won't get into troubles. Most of the time, people think the internet teaches them so they can know better than the agent.
Always consult a professional. Always. All right, so how can we make owning a primary residence more affordable? Because after all, it is the path to 40 times your net worth. Even if you don't ever know anything else, if this is the only single financial decision that you ever make in your life, is owning a home, you'll be 40 times better off than somebody who doesn't, okay? Right. So at a bare minimum, how can we make it more palatable for somebody, at least in the meantime, until they buy their time for rates to go down and they refinance later? So we can buy with friends, right, Janelle? I've learned this with Janelle. Janelle has some clients that are friends, they're buying together. And I'm just like, you know, there's
genius.
stories that I've heard about, like in other states, but to actually have firsthand experience with Janelle and her clients, to see them doing that, it's very, very interesting, and it's so smart, because let's just use a teacher for example, okay? Teachers are known for not making big incomes, so that's why they're an easy group for me to discuss. If you're a teacher and say you're making $40,000 a year, and you want to buy a home on your own, you're going to be limited to about a $200,000 price point. Okay, and if you look around, what did I say was the average price, median price? All right, how many $200,000 houses are in Wake County?
There isn't.
Or Durham? Or you know, and so.
Girl, they're selling houses on Bragg Street for $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. It's not 200. It's not 200. So now, when I bought my home many years ago, $200,000 was a nice. That was way too much. I couldn't imagine buying a $200,000 home when I bought my property 20 plus years ago. I mean, that would have been a nice neighborhood. That was probably in a golf course community in Cary, 3-bed, 2-bath, all those kinds of things. That was a fancy house. Yeah, but not today.
No.
But not today. So, but we gotta buy what we can, where we can, with what we got. Okay? So,
I love
if
that.
we've got some friends who are in the same situation that you are in, why not? Why not find something that has 2 master bedrooms in it, for you to split and share, right? Or let's just say maybe you're not on the end of $40,000, but you can afford income wise, on paper you could afford a $400,000 property, but budget wise that $3,500 payment is smacking you in the head. You know, maybe you rent out a room, right? You rent out a room to offset that cost. Or you buy further out, you buy smaller. I'll get to you, Kim. Buy a multifamily. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite ways. So speaking to a young lady earlier today, and a single family on her own would be about $250,000. But if she were to buy a duplex and could rent out the other side for $1,000, all of a sudden we jumped up to $400,000. So now I'm like, okay, instead of a single family at $250,000, if you did a duplex at $450,000 and rented out the other unit for $1,000, which should be like a very conservative rent. Like again, I like to use conservative numbers and make that work. You could afford a bigger property. So it gives people something to think about.
In this situation that you're talking about, just to clarify, so you said she could get a duplex, let's say she got a single family
Or
for,
it could be a triplex or just something.
how is she qualifying?
Oh, good question. So here's how you qualify.
Because the rental for what
I can use 75% of the market rent.
for the property that hasn't even been bought yet,
Correct.
knowing that it will be rented in the future.
She's talking about another one of my clients.
Oh, this is interesting.
Girl, you got some smart clients.
All right, okay, all right. So listen. So FHA, all right, 3.5% down,
Yeah.
multifamily.
Yeah,
2 to
because
4
it's
units.
considered still to be.
It's an FHA loan.
residential,
And so I didn't look this number up, but I'll tell you this. So the FHA loan limit for a single family is $502 in Wake County. It's different in other counties. It's more in Durham, more in Orange.
That's plenty
But in Wake
enough.
County, it's plenty, right? It's a lot.
Okay.
But it's even more for a 2, a 3, and a 4 unit. Yeah, you can Google it. You can Google HUD loan limits for your county, and then it'll show you.
Rita, you want to buy a house with
based
me?
on I think you could go up to $900,000.
They're counting.
Kim, you want to buy a house with me?
Each property is a separate residence. Is that
So for
right?
example, this is just an example, Jamaica, and I'll get back to you. A few years ago, I helped a client who bought a 4-unit at NC State.
Okay.
FHA,
Genius.
3.5% down.
Right.
He lived in one, rented out the other 3. We use the income for the other 3 units to get him to qualify. Jamaica.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
Is this on new construction for the FHA?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
It could be
As long as it's a
condition, yeah.
quadruplex,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
triplex or duplex, okay.
And then my second question, do the buyer have to stay in the other?
Yes.
For
It
how
needs to
many
be a
years?
primary residence.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, we are talking about owning your own home. And so you can own and take advantage of the rental income on a primary residence if it's a 2 to 4 unit. Okay, you
As long
can't
as-
do it on a single family.
Right.
I'm gonna rent to my girlfriends at bedrooms 1 and 7 over there. Well, that's a big house. You know, I'm not getting leases for my friends in a single family. It won't work there. But if it's a 2 to 4 unit, existing construction, new construction, FHA, and the borrower is gonna live in that property, the intention should be for a minimum of 1 year, because North Carolina's deed of trust law states that the intention is to live there for 12 months. So it should never be utilized as a, sure, I'm gonna live there, wink, wink, so that you can take advantage of the loan, because that's loan fraud, and you would go to jail for that. So, and anybody, yeah. Good questions. Anything else? Yes, Kim, you had one.
One question. Can that multi-family duplex be used for VA? Because I know VA is kind of sticky.
You know what, Kim, that is a good question.
Please find out for me, because
I would have to get back
yes,
to
please
you
find out.
on VA duplexes. I don't see,
I think we can.
Because I'm around military all the time, so
Yeah.
I need to know
Maybe
that
extra
if that's the
stipulations.
case.
all right.
Yeah.
Can you write the question down for me? Because I've not looked at
I
it.
have that question because
I
my
don't see why
sister-in-law
not.
has asked me that question
Mhm,
because her son is a veteran,
mhm.
and he wants to use his yes.
Pishore, are you Googling
He
it?
wants,
Yeah,
he wants
a
to leave
multi-resident?
out of New York.
Yeah, do VA
They
loans
wanna
on
leave- She wants to
multifamily.
leave out of New York.
I think you
and
could. I don't
son
see why you couldn't.
And
I have a question.
a
Yeah.
duplex like that.
Here,
Uh-huh.
multifamily.
He don't
Yeah.
have it yet, he wanna know if he can buy one.
Minimum
Yes.
down
Got
payment.
it.
And so that's what I'm trying to
3.5.
That
find out.
makes sense.
On
Yeah.
FHA.
But
On
there's
FHA.
conventional
Conventional is like
10,
20% or
Okay.
25% down on conventional. It's really tough to do it
Yeah.
on conventional because of the down
Yeah,
payment.
you can use a VA loan to purchase single unit home, duplexes, multifamily homes, a triplex or
Yeah.
quadruplex,
Okay, great.
as long as one of the units is your primary residence.
Yeah,
So
I can tell
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I was like, I couldn't
Yes.
think of a reason why you couldn't.
yeah,
So I've not done one before, but that's a good question. Thank you for checking that out.
2 years.
Yeah, so this is gonna work better on a government insured loan, like a FHA or a VA. Okay, don't ask me about USD, probably not on USDA, definitely not on
Because that
USDA, because they don't.
USDA has been a rural area, right?
Yeah, USDA is be rural, but USDA is like this household income situation. If anybody's really wants to know about USDA multifamily, I can look into it and get you to. I've never done one. USDA is its own little animal.
Before you move forward with the FHA, and for the down payment, so like 400,000, it will be 14,000. So are there any, closing or down payment assistance towards,
So we don't do down payment assistance. Well, we do. We have lenders that do, but I don't recommend it because to get the down payment assistance through us, the mortgage, you have to take a higher interest rate. And this is also how North Carolina Housing Finance does it as well, is to get that credit for the second loan that they use for down payment assistance, you have to take a higher interest rate, which reduces your affordability, which is like creating the problem that we already have with affordability. It's not helping anything. So I don't recommend our programs for down payment assistance. But there are other lenders out there, typically your financial institutions that have deposits, have special programs or access to things like the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. I worked for, depository institutions before that had great grant programs. I would recommend a grant program for down payment assistance versus a loan for down payment assistance.
Yeah, can we talk about that later? Cause I know that Kim and I have been talking about that. That's how I met Kim, through doing the city and housing. I actually used to run the IDA, that's how Kim and I met. But I wanna talk to you about it because the answer to the question is yes, but I understand what you're saying, it's not something you necessarily do, but we gotta find out from housing, do she has to be approved to housing?
I have to,
so.
they don't work with brokers.
Right.
North Carolina Housing,
That's what it is.
yeah.
But if you have an IUL, you can take the money.
Temporary 2-1 buy downs, I'm seeing going out of fashion right now. This was something that was super hot, and I'm putting it there because, so that's where a seller subsidizes a lower interest rate for the borrower temporarily for the first 1 to maybe 3 years, depending on the program, 1 to 3 years. But it requires this seller to contribute, and we're in spring market. We have limited inventory. We have a lot of people buying houses. There's multiple offers, and sellers don't need to do this. They were doing this left, right, and center from, say, October through about February, but sellers aren't doing it right now.
It was
I
genius.
wouldn't count it out though.
Yes.
There's still
It
some-
depends. It is going to be a case-by-case basis, depending. So you're in Fayetteville. It's like so that area might be more open to it, or it could be a situation where a home's been overpriced and sitting on the market too long.
In rural areas.
Yeah, definitely. But like in Wake County,
Oh, God.
it's like it's not a strategy that's really working if a home has multiple offers. But certainly it is a strategy worth considering, which is why I have it here. If you are, like you said, in a rural area, the circumstances and the stars align, maybe the home's been in the market for a really long time, and there's wiggle room and margin there for the seller to contribute. Where we were recommending it all day, every day, when like the last quarter of last year, beginning of this year, it's really kind of lost its relevance in this market.
But I do want the information on it because some of the strategies, and the reason why is because the average agent wouldn't know how to go in there and help find those types of deals. That's why I'm going a little bit more on the investing side.
Yeah.
So I still want to know because I know on the investing side, I'm trying to teach my agents everything to find deals.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Yeah, it's
It really is.
it's really good. So just real quick, on average, it costs the seller around 2% of the sales price. It might be 2.3 or 2.5, but say 2%-ish. But you cannot negotiate it until you get the actual to the penny dollar amount from your lender. There's a 2-1 buy down calculator, and the lender has to calculate it because all of it has to be paid for by the seller. Okay. It is a seller subsidy program. So for example, let's say it costs $8,000 and you got $7,000 in credit from the seller, it's not enough. So you'd have to go back and get $8,000.
And believe it or not, it wasn't that situation, but I've been in situations where I had to go back and negotiate with the seller.
Exactly.
The buyer thought they had the money, something happened,
Yeah,
and it didn't get the money,
happens.
and we had to go get it.
All kinds of things happen for sure. So being resourceful. So if you have an IUL, you can be your own bank. You can borrow on that tax-free, interest-free, correct? If I'm right, Rita? I asked her ahead of time. You can borrow on your IUL. You can borrow on a 401k if you have that. Whatever you have access to. Family can give you gift. Of course, there's checking and savings. People get second jobs just so they can save a little extra money. If you really, really want some great tips on how to save money and pay off debt to do stuff, I'm not a super fan of Dave Ramsey, but he will talk to you straight and tell you you shouldn't be eating in a restaurant. You should be serving in a restaurant.
Well,
if you're trying to pay down debt or save some money, don't eat out, but maybe get a job at that restaurant and make some extra money.
we a part of Ranks of Riches, which is what we talked about a little bit, we do all that.
Awesome.
We teach all that.
Awesome.
I mean,
all those little great all those great tips. So be resourceful, get educated, find and assess your opportunities. We also, like I said, clients are figuring it out. Consumers are very smart and they're figuring out what they have to do. Like in Janelle's case, her clients are just like, hey, this is what we got to do. We got to buy together. This smart people, they're figuring it out. They figure they can by more as 4 than as 1. I mean, it just makes sense. But also people are figuring out, how can I get a promotion in my job? What skills do I need to learn? Do I need to change jobs? Do I need to change careers, industries? People are making moves to make more money so that they can afford a home.
What did you, do you recommend, or what do you think about if they change how the taxes coming out of their paycheck?
So we're not tax advisors, and so yeah, we wouldn't give them any advice there.
They could go to the attorney and see how they can maybe.
Yeah, yeah, so advising someone to reduce how much they're paying in federal income taxes, if, you know, I don't know what their particular situation is. Yeah, super short, because, I mean, I didn't take out enough last year, and so, you know, I know what, you know, and we got some, you know. We gotta make up for the mistake of not taking out, so, they need to go ahead and talk to somebody else. Okay. All right. So here is something that's in your handout that you probably aren't going to see very well. So I'll talk through it if you want to look through it. So average rent on a property today is $462. I mean, actually, this is super cheap. Probably I just put $2,000 just to make sort of like this comparison. So $2,000 monthly rent compared to that $3,420 mortgage payment. There's the breakdown of the payment right there with the PMI, the taxes, and the insurance. And so you're like, oh my gosh, it's $1,420 more to own a home. That's significantly more. But if you were renting a room or sharing that bill by $1,400 per month, or renting out another space like a duplex situation, then you can own a home comparable to what it would cost you to rent one out. Okay, so that's just an example of what house hacking, renting a room would look like on paper. Any questions about owning your own home? Y'all like that multifamily stuff though. We have some heat on that. Okay. So let's go ahead, now we're gonna move into more of like the investment side. So what we're gonna talk about from here forward is about not your own home, but actual real estate investment. So long-term rentals are probably the most popular, the one that most people think about. And it's probably the one that you're most familiar with as your experience as renting in the past, right? We all have rented in the past. So we're going to talk about long-term rental. So average rent in Wake County is $1,982. Wow. Okay? Now, I have this broken down on the next slide. This is an example for a $325,000 home, 25% down. Okay? So the monthly payment on that would be about $2,128. So you'd be upside down. Your rental income would not be enough to cover your monthly payment on that. But still, you would have a cumulative cash on cash return of 11.8%. And your cumulative cash flow through year 10 would be $12,173. That's not a whole lot to get excited about. So hang with me, okay? You're like, $12,000 over 10 years, like why would you do that? So here's what the cash flow looks like broken out year by year for over 10 years. And here's this scenario. Long-term rental, current rates, 6.375%, $325 sales price, to 25% down, with a rent starting at $1,982. So you can see it takes until about year 4 for that rent to go up to cover the mortgage payment, right? So this is a challenge that we're seeing right now when we're talking to people who want to purchase investment real estate properties. It's sort of like, I mean, I have clients that I work with for months and months or years and years, you know, and I have clients that are investors and they haven't bought anything for 2 or 3 years. And some have just like, you know, we're just sitting it out. Like there's nothing out there. We can't make the numbers work. None of it seems to make sense. And I get it, because if you're just looking here in that first column, they're absolutely right. But we when we're talking about investment real estate, we cannot have tunnel vision. We do need to look wider and longer.
I
Okay?
do have a question
Yes.
about that though, April.
Yeah.
Are they stuck with being in Wayne County? Is like, I'm just talking about specifically with your client. Are they stuck with just wanting to be in Wayne County?
One in particular, the one I'm thinking of is like trying to buy something in the mountains. Like, you know, he like wants to buy like a Airbnb or something like that in the mountains.
I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
We talk about people need to come to our training. The average investors, and probably most of you do,
Yeah.
they don't know how to buy because you,
Yeah.
the benefit is in when you buy it
Yes.
first time. And most of them
Yes.
have people that have never taught them that.
Yes.
And that's why they're paying
Yes.
$300,000 for
Yes.
a rental that they could probably pay less and still
Yes.
get that amount of
Yeah.
money.
And now we're gonna look at some other examples on a little bit. And for the purpose of the presentation, I'm trying to keep this scope with what we see here in Wake County. So the average rental property that I see people purchasing in Wake County is gonna be around $325,000. Because there's just not a whole lot else available. So that's just gonna be about average pricing for rental, and then for the primary residences, they're gonna be over $450. So here's just a kind of, again, a little steady, little chart for as the long-term rental income outpaces the rental income outpaces the expenses of the property, very slowly growing over time. Again, so far, nothing to let me go buy a long-term rental, right? So just hang with me. So let's look at the long-term data on long-term rentals. And this is assuming this person never refinances, okay? They just stick with the 6.375. So over the long term, with the appreciation gain, the amortization gain, the rental income, all of that stuff, their return on the investment is 157.9%. Okay? The average compounded annual return is 9.9%. And this is using not great numbers. Okay, so the reason why I didn't manipulate this to make it look good is because I wanted to paint a picture of reality and say, even if we're losing money in year 1, year 2, and it's taking us to year 4, and we never get around to refinances, even then we're at a 9.9% annual compounded return. Okay? But of course, if you quit right here and you sell right here, I mean, you cannot buy and sell right away. So then what I wanted to look at was, well, what if we go ahead and refinance this property? Okay, so this is year 1, but consider this year 1 of the refinance. Okay, so we're going to refinance. Second year, we own the property to 5.25, because I really think that that's a very realistic number for a rental property within the next couple of years. And so all of a sudden we flip the script and we're positive from that point forward a much more significant way. And we're also starting in that year 3 or year 2, rents have increased also to 21-27. So we're starting off a little bit better. And then here's, again, sort of that bar graph showing a bigger margin between the income and the expenses. And now, our return on investment by refinancing it. Now, this is going to be a little bit longer because remember, as of year 2, so this is probably going to be in the 11th year, a 266% return on the investment, or a 13.9 average compounded annual return. And when we saw the rate of return before at 12%, you were doubling your money every 6 years, right? Yeah. So, pretty good, right? Yeah. And this is still on long term, starting off crappy but getting better. Right. All right. So, what does it look like for short term? So, yes. Oh, question. Sorry.
Yeah. Quick question. Yeah. So, in the last couple of slides, you went over different rates of return.
Yes.
One of them being cash on cash.
Yes.
I think I understood what you were saying, but could you clarify the difference between the slide of cash on cash return and the overall like 150% return? Because that's a big jump.
Yeah. So the cumulative cash on cash return is basically referring to the cash that you've invested, that 25%, and the cumulative cash flow. So if you put in 25%, then you're getting back that 25% plus another almost 12% on top of that.
Purely from the liquidity, this is my
What you put in.
rotating funds in my bank account.
Yeah, return on your cash.
Mhm.
And then the return on the investment is not, well, that's just based on the cash flow. That was just based on the cash flow of the property. This is taking into consideration the appreciation, the amortization, plus the cash flow, all wrapped up into one.
Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome. Good question. Thank you so much. So when I say short-term rentals, what comes to mind? Yeah, VRBO, and there's all kinds of things right now. This is probably like, the hottest thing since sliced bread right now. And when you see the numbers, you're gonna see why. The advantages of what are some of the advantages of a short-term rental?
More money. That's one of the biggest. No more money. Just make more money.
More money. Bishop, can you give me some extra water? Just gonna be harsh. All right. So more money, right? But there's also going to be more turnover, right? Maybe more expenses. That's maybe the downside of it. But you can charge a premium over that long-term rent, and that is the draw on the short-term rental. So what I pretended was that we're in Wilmington, right? Because everybody wants to have their short-term rental at the beach, because why? You want to use it too, okay? And when you're not using it, you're renting it out. So it's sort of like you got a second home, you got a little piece of the beach, you got, you're adding to your portfolio, but you're also making an income on it. That is paying for that mortgage. So again, I didn't go crazy. I assumed a $3,000 per month rent, but I gave a big 25% vacancy. So you're not gonna get $3,000 every month. So over a monthly basis, you take away that 25% vacancy, it's $2,250 per month. Okay, but again, as you know, it's gonna be like maybe 1,000 this month, 5,000 this month. Short-term rental is very, very choppy and it's very seasonal. So you may make, especially at the beach, most of your money between spring, but Memorial Day to Labor Day, or Labor Day to Memorial. Which way is it? Memorial to Labor Day, right? That's going to be your peak season for short-term rental. Your cumulative cash flow is going to be $120,000 versus that $12,000. So 10 times more than holding on to it with just that single renter in there year after year with 3% increases. And there's that graph, that bar graph for people who are not really again, for nice little visual learners here, a nice bigger margin increasing at a faster pace. And that cash on cash return, 24%. And that return on the investment over a 10-year period of time with the amortization and the appreciation plus the cumulative cash flow, 292%, and an average annual compounded return of 14.7. And we didn't even throw in a refinance in here, okay? So it would only get better if they were to drop that rate later on. Any questions about the short-term rentals? All right, so midterm rentals. So midterm rental is not for the week, right? That's short. Long-term, you think long-term is for a year or longer. Midterm rentals I'm starting to hear becoming popular from some agents that are investing, and they're looking at properties that are near hospitals that may have travel nurses that come and stay in the area. But also if you think about all the executives and things like that will be coming here with Apple and Google and all the other companies that are coming into our area, where are they going to stay while they're looking or building their property, right? Because we all know like there's very limited ready to go inventory. But people who are relocating, and we still have 60 people relocating in Wake County every day, right? Like, let's not talk about that. So while you're transitioning to this area, it may take you longer if you're building a home that's gonna take 6 to 8 months. So midterm could be a great solution because you don't wanna pay $500 a night for 6 months. You could do that for a week at the beach, but you're probably not gonna do that while you're commuting to the office every day and you're building a home or evaluating this. So midterm rentals are becoming a new solution to help solve for this this in between, this gap. Exactly. So I didn't do an analysis for that, but you can probably imagine that it would probably be in between. The long and the short, right? Probably so probably not as high as short term, but also not as much turnover or not as much risk as the short term. All right, so BRRRRs and fix and flips. So I found these formulas online. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I give these to people because when you are taking on a project, you're buying a property and you're renovating it, whether you're gonna sell it or keep it, these numbers have got to make sense and you have got to run the numbers. And again, this is not a how-to. Donis and her husband run a how-to. They have training on like the ins and outs, how to size up the expenses, the contractors, like all those little things. I'm not a real estate expert. I'm not on the how-to. I'm running the number side of things. So my encouragement would be for people before you get into a project that you run your projections and you look at it from this point of view, okay? And there's the formula. So keep this sheet handy. And if by all means you lost it, you can certainly Google it. That's what I did. All right, so I put the formula up here at the top just to sort of remind us what it is. And I'm just gonna kind of like overview these numbers. And again, I don't want anybody to get caught up in them. We're just gonna sort of paint a picture and give you sort of what the ROI would be in this particular scenario. So let's just say, again, we wanna buy the deal, right? Don't go in like, Don's like, oh, they're buying wrong. They shouldn't be buying $325. They should be buying lower. Yes, this is the slide. This is the one where things start making more sense for you and how you teach your investors. So you're gonna buy at a lower price. Probably the home is distressed, needs some tender loving care, and we're gonna pretend the renovation budget's $50K, and we're gonna pretend that the as repaired value is $325,000. So now we get like new terms that we don't typically see on the mortgage side for primary residences unless you're dealing with construction to perm lending, which I don't do. Not on primary residences, but we can do that type of renovation on our commercial side of our business. So on the as repaired value, a lender will lend a novice up to 70% of that higher value. So that would be $227,000. So to acquire the $250,000, they're gonna get $227,000 financed. They're gonna need $27,500 in their pocket. They're gonna have closing costs of about $10,000. Don't judge me, it is what it is. Holding costs, they're gonna pay about a 9% annual interest rate on that loan and the time that it's in use. So I'm gonna pretend that those holding costs are for 6 months on the full amount. And that makes it $10,237. So they use their down payment plus the closing cost plus their holding costs. Total cash needed $47,000. And we're going to say once they refinance this and rent it out, they're going to collect $1,982 a month in rent. Their monthly mortgage payment on this loan after they refinance it is going to be $2,372, and that's going to be based off of a $260,000 loan. They are going to then, when they refinance it, they're going to get back $24,000, and they can use that for the next project. So you see, like they needed $27,000 for the down payment, so they're going to get $27,000 for the next project. They're still going to need some extra cash. All right. We have a 10-year hold period. They're gonna sell it in 10 years for $459. They're only gonna owe $205. Their cost to sell are gonna be $27,579. Their return on that $47,000 investment is gonna be 538%. The initial investment gives them a net gain of $201,000, which is the appreciation plus their cumulative rental income, and it's a compounded annual growth rate of 809%. So when you see these big investment companies coming into neighborhoods, gobbling them up and renting them out, these numbers are going to start making that whole situation make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why are these massive hedge funds going out and buying up real estate? Like, of course, they're doing this at way cheaper, right? And they're not even like, they're doing this like in pure cash. So, all right, let's contrast that to a fix and flip, which is not going to be a hold for a very long time, right? Like maybe 6 months, hopefully less, right? You want to get through them as quickly as possible, because time is money. So very similar numbers, and in this case, they would have a net profit of $78,000, and that would be a return on that particular investment of 163%. Does that sound about right?
That's good. No, yeah.
Is that good? That's good. Okay. Here. No, again, this is all April's imagination so far. Yeah. So that would be it would be great to do a return on that. So the challenge is going to be, it's like constantly finding, because you have to also pay your own bills, right? And you still have to have your own cash to invest in the next project. So the BRRRRs may be something that come along after you do some profit, get some money, pay some bills, save some money, and keep building up your savings, pouring it into your IUL account, okay? Because here's what I want you to, let's look at these numbers right here. So your loan, or your invested cash, this denominator right here, invested cash and holding costs. If you had money in your IUL and you borrowed it tax-free at zero cost, and you were using that to purchase properties for the $27,000 down here and there, your denominator is zero. Does anybody know what happens when you divide by zero? You get infinity. So this is leverage.
This is a double play.
This is the double play right here. Is that if you invest with borrowed money, if you are your own bank, and you borrow on your own money to invest in real estate, on any of these scenarios, your rate of return is legitimately infinity. I figured out, like, oh, because I was like, how am I going to do this on leverage? I was like, man, I was like putting these slides there, like, oh, this is what the leverage is. This is how the rich get filthy rich. Yeah. So sources to get started, right? So these are your low cost, your 401k, right? Now there is an interest rate that you will pay to your 401k plan provider. It's not free. Of course, your savings, you could use your savings. You can partner with other people. And then that universal life account that we talked about, being your own bank. But the lower cost you can get, then the lower your holding costs are, lower your carrying costs are, and the greater your return on the investments are going to be. But not everybody has all these things. So there are other options, and they come at a price. And so the higher you pay for these things, the lower your rate of return is going to be. Okay? But those options are your home equity line of credit. So most everybody who is in here has a home, I saw. So if you've owned a home for more than 3 years in this area, you've got a lot of equity, you can get a home equity line of credit. The issue is that they're based on prime, and prime is 8%. So even if you're at prime plus 0, your borrowing costs immediately are at 8%. Immediately. That's a lot more than 0. Okay? You can do personal lines of credit, but those are going to be double digits. Because if they're unsecured, they're going to be prime. Well, you're at the bank, so what are your lines of credit at?
So, like you said, the HELOC is prime plus 50 basis points. It's a no closing cost,
Yeah.
but you have to take the 20,000 initial advance at closing.
Yeah.
But you're not penalized if you transfer it right back the next day. The lines of credits, like you said, unsecured, 14 to 16%.
Yeah.
And we don't have credit cards, but I do know that MasterCard, who we partner with, 14 to 20%.
But if you did a cash advance on a credit card, what would it be?
Oh, double.
Like 27 something.
20 plus percent,
30.
right? So,
Wow.
so these, and let me just tell you this. So, what I see is that if we're not starting on a solid footing here, we start over here. And here's the other problem. This is the other problem. This is what gets the have-nots with have-nothing. Okay? Is that these are all revolving, and when you access them, you utilize your utilization, and your credit score is going to drop 100 points at least immediately. You can have great credit. You can max out a line of credit, max out a personal line of credit, max out a credit card. You will have the money you need for your project, but you're going to destroy your credit. And then what's going to happen when you go to get financing, either you're not going to qualify, or you're going to pay an even higher interest rate than the average 9% that somebody with good credit. So imagine the cost of financing in the commercial space, if you got good credit, it's going to be around 9%. So,
and when you're looking at that high cost, that's like being an aggressive investor on insurance, or you definitely would have to partner with someone who knows what they're doing, how to do this, so that this turnaround is a little bit faster, and they're going to help support you with these. The problem I have is everybody and their grandma want to become investors and jump into it. Even if they go through with April, so I imagine you get where I want to do this anyway. You tell them all the risks, all this, and they still want to do it anyway. That's why we have our education program, because they don't understand. You've got to listen to the professionals. That April is a financial professional. You know, unfortunately it's not that many real estate agents that understand this. So, but you need somebody to understand this, and you need a project manager or a contractor or investor who's been doing this for years, who can help you not get yourself caught up. And my husband has actually used both of the two at the bottom throughout his 30 years. He's used it and been
you have to.
And when he was effective, and like you said, he took the risk with his credit. He didn't have problems with his credit until he got through his divorce. So all the years he was invested in doing all this, there was nothing wrong with his credit, because he kept it. He knew what to do and how to keep it going, where that wasn't affecting his credit but so much.
I had a guy at the bank that would draw off of his whole equity line to max it out, and he would put it down on a property, but come in 2 days later and pay it right off.
Well, that's what I was
No,
going to say.
no
How
issues.
do they pay it off 2 days later?
You can't max it and keep it there for months at a time. You have to. It's got to be quick and
Yeah. That's what he was doing.
The customer that I have, he pays it back like within 29 days.
Yeah.
But how? Is he selling the property or something?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's flipping it.
Yeah.
So he's selling it in less than a month so he could pay off the...
So before the balance, before the statement
That's
is cut.
interesting what he's doing,
Yeah.
because that just made me a little nervous as an agent, but that I don't know, because maybe he got a crew of a lot of people.
There's 5. They're up to 14 properties within 2 years.
And they focus on and you have to, that's the other thing, because I don't know how much he's paying them, but they would have to be that big of people.
These are great sources of opportunity, but they have to be treated very carefully. So for example, if at all possible, don't go above 50% of the limit.
Right.
Because most people are gonna, if they're gonna do it to buy a house, they're gonna have it on there for more than 30 days. And if you get reported to the credit company during that period of time, then your credit score can really suffer. So you do have to be very careful about how you utilize credit. So why wouldn't you pay cash?
Because cash is king and you want the king in your
Well,
pocket.
take a look at this. I'm just gonna run through this really quick. Let's just say that, I'm just gonna give you your 325. Look at this return on the investment, 98.7, and the average compounded return is only 7.1. Okay, so remember that formula. What's the bottom number? Cash invested. The bigger the number you invest, the lower your rate of return. Okay, so the name of the game to leverage and to get the greatest rate of return is to use as little bit of your money as possible at the lowest cost possible.
Which is amazing, and like people would think the opposite, unfortunately. You know what I mean? I find like a lot of my friends would think the opposite.
So I learned a lot too putting these slides together.
I was gonna say, if you could give me an example when you say the opposite, people do the opposite, what do you mean?
Like I feel like, I don't know why, but you would just assume when you're not educated in this that like if you used more of your own money, you would make more money. And it's probably like thinking, well, what about interest and this and that, and not seeing the math out loud. But I don't know why, like I just feel like that would just be a common thought.
Your money is taking more money to make money.
Right.
So if you can take a little money to make money, your return is going to be greater.
And let me say this, but you just said it's perfect, because I have a problem with people, which is their choice, doing the same thing on their primary residence. So let's say the house is $500,000. They have $250,000. They want to put the $250,000. I'm like, why would you do that? Put the $50,000, take the $200,000 and invest it in real estate and make money off of it.
You can get like 4 other properties with that
By the
$200,000.
yes.
Yes.
They're thinking
So-
they're gonna pay that
They
off
can get it
fast.
down.
Yeah, exactly. That's
want.
what it
Right,
is.
that's
It's
the
this
logic.
thinking of less debt, less debt.
One more
Right.
point. If you only put the 50, let's say you make, let's just do the 12% return on investment. So well, let me do it easy. Let's just do 10, 12, I don't know what that number is. So 10% return on investment off of 200, that's little. That's $2,000 that you'll make 4 times possibly in 1 year. So now we're looking at $8,000 that you've made. Why not use that, which is the profit, and pay down your mortgage?
Boom! Awesome. So in summary, so here are all of the rates of return from all the previous slides, side by side. And I think they should be, of course, fix and flip doesn't have an annual return. I guess, I mean, if you did one flip per year, I guess it'd be 163% annual return. You know, which that's not too bad. But then what I did is I added this little line here. If you did 2 fix and flips a year over 10 years, you'd have 1.56 million in profit.
That is true. It is so sweet.
Isn't that
And if you
amazing?
buy it right, that is so sweet.
What could you do with 1.56 million?
Who's trying to do a fix and flip with me?
Yes.
Kim,
Awesome.
Mama, let's go.
We talked a little bit about these challenges, cash flow margin. Rural areas are not going to get as big of a spread between their rental income over their payment, because you can't charge as high much in rent. Resale values are probably not going to escalate as quickly either, although you're going to get better deals, right? You're going to find better properties and other opportunities. Finding a deal could be a challenge in a limited real estate market. Larger down payments are needed in order for you to sort of break even on that cash flow. So the recommendations, if you're going to do this, the short-term over a long-term rents until the market changes and you can get better rental income for the long-term. Buy now, refi later. This is my favorite. Buy what you can, where you can, with what you've got. House hack. Use your creativity and ingenuity to make it happen. Leverage your own cash and keep your costs low. Use your IUL policy as a cash secured line of credit. Use it, pay it off. Use it, pay it off. Rinse and repeat. Use it, invest it. improve it, sell it, pay it off, and keep borrowing, keep rinsing and repeating that. Have reliable contractors and crew. Have a mentor to save you from making costly mistakes, and that is what Donis and her husband help investors do. Use financing to get you started, and use less and less as you grow. Okay, to keep those overhead costs, and use your home equity line of credit as a way to get started. Use fix and flips to start, build cash reserves, and then work on the BRRR method. Because if you're just starting out and investing, you still got to eat too. And I think that when I've done the numbers on the BRRRRs, it just takes it's a longer time for you to be able to do both, eat and make money. So the fix and flips, you can eat, make money, and invest.
The birds are usually going for more seasoned investors anyway, because
I'm glad you said
they
that.
got money they can put into it and they don't have to really worry about it. Yeah, the fastest way and easiest way to get into it would be the fix and flip, because you're gonna make a larger chunk over, you know, and you can do more than one deal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you, April.
You're welcome.